you ever wonder why Korean junglers risk it all on invades, scuttle crabs, and dragon fights? These moves might look like a coin flip, but behind them is the Korean jungle secret that allows them to be some of the best in the world. And in this video, I'm going to help you understand that secret, which will of course 10 times your jungle ability. So first, we're going to do this challenger game, Jax vs Graves, an understatement of the century when we will say Graves is significantly better as a jungler. And then we're going to look at a real example which will be more representative of your own MMRs. And the reason for all of this, all of the things that they do is to try and get that time advantage. And when you have that, how you use it is very, very important. I mean, obviously it's important, otherwise I wouldn't show Jax starting Raptors misleading like he's going to the blue side, then actually going to the Krugs red. This directs the Graves to think, hey, I can't invade the blue side because Jax is there. And this is where we are really going to be talking about this Korean trick, this principle. And as the Jax crosses from his red side camps to his blue side camps at about 243, very, very slow. Typically in most junglers, you want to be in the mid to low 2-minute 20s. He basically would normally just finish his full clear, hopefully not get invaded. The Graves is prior for the gank bottom lane and the scuttle. You can just go back to base right and then head straight to the top side scuttle. The Korean secret here is to always try and maintain a time advantage, a tempo advantage, to go and gain things and also cut off what the enemy jungler wants to accomplish, which is exactly what you saw. He did the Grom goes to the bottom lane for the gank, Graves finishes his full clear almost, is forced to rotate over to it because of the actions, so doesn't finish his Krug camp. They stay fisting a little bit, the Graves goes in a little too deep and gets W'd by the Jax, who says thank you very much, or spank you very much with my line post, and then now of course he can go to the bottom side scuttle. And this reigning secret principle is the fundamental behind all of the aggression that you see. The high risk maneuvers that you see are because they know they can mechanically pull them off, but that the payoff is so damn big that you can most likely snowball an end for most of these scenarios. If you want help implementing this information into your own game, I have a free jungle improvement resource as well as a dedicated program where we have jungle video courses, jungle coaching VOD libraries, weekly free video content seen nowhere else, as well as Q&As and patch note rundowns, as well as a private jungle Discord. And if there's one thing I'm good at, it's converting junglers to gold, to emerald, to diamond, to master plus. If you want to climb faster than anyone you know, jungle div every game you play, click the link below or head to virkayu.gg. However, it's not a one and done thing, yes, it's a tug of war the whole time with two equally skilled junglers. Again, I'll show you in another example that's more realistic to you, but the Graves basically knows, hey, the Jax could easily do the Scuttle, the Blue, and the Wolves, and that could leave me the ability to take his Raptors that he started on, and then his Krugs if he wants to invest that much time on the bottom side. And so as you see, what Jax does is shadows the mid lane gank that the Graves does to get himself a kill, and now can take away his Raptors and Krugs from the Graves, so you take away what he wanted to do, which is most likely Scuttle into, of course, the counter jungling. The alternative for the Graves is, hey, look, I can gank mid, I can take the Scuttle, I can gank top lane, I don't need your camps. So the Jax makes a play just in case the Graves wants to take those things. The Graves takes other things, but the misdirect is still important. The Graves will now go down to his Gromp and his Wolves, yes. The Jax will obviously reset and go back down to the blue side quadrant. Worth noting, he already had a blue from killing the Graves, so it's not like he needed his own. The Graves will now be sequencing to the bottom side, and the Jax can basically say, hey, look, I've swapped my directional pathing. You think I'm probably sequencing down and I'm behind you. In reality, I'm ahead of you because I thought about what you wanted. I took it away. You got other things instead. Now I can get ahead of you on the bottom side. And of course, if there's no gank and your bottom lane are killing each other and there's nothing you can do your blue side quadrant. Can I gank mid lane? No. Okay, I can't counter jungle because Graves is most likely there. So I'll just do the dragon and take the random scuttle crab. I can go ahead and have a look for gank mid lane. But while he's doing that, what do you think the Graves was doing? That's right, the Graves sequences down, sees the same things the Jax does, sees he doesn't have prior to go for the crab or the dragon, and says, look, if you've just now taken the dragon, then I know your topside camp should be available, so while you kind of do that reset path up to the top side, I'm gonna go ahead and take your third respawn Raptors, your third respawn Krugs away from you, thereby creating a time gap between him and Jax. He's on the Raptors while Jax is somewhere else, and the Jax is not trailing him, while the Graves takes away his camps, and now the Jax has lost things, and the Graves has cut in front of the Jax and prevented what he wanted to do next. So when you're tracking and playing in the game and you're always trying to understand exactly what you should be doing, think about the enemy jungler. What are they going to want to do next? Could I maybe counter jungle the camps, or should I go somewhere else and prevent them doing what they want to do? You always have to decide from your PvP nature, what the map looks like, which is the best decision. In this case, the Graves said, look, no lane prior, I don't want to go fight 3v1, I'll just take away the camps from somewhere else. The Jax is going to arrive and be like, oh shit, he took my stuff. That's because the Graves knew once he's done with the dragon and everything, he's going to want to reset or do something about the topside camp, so I'll just take those away from you because I knew you wanted to do them, so I said no. And sometimes this leads to Viegos and Talias fisting it out on a Raptor camp for the same reason, because sometimes junglers do different things than you expect, but a mage unloading her damage spells and then if nothing else, is no match for, a male shirtless fighting champion that Riot seems to so lovingly make and overtune them to some degree, or at least make them super strong in fights, so there you go, free kill for the Virkayu. But as you can see, sometimes it ends up being a PvP thing, and sometimes it's just a case of I stole stuff that you wanted. And as you would have seen, the Jax said, hey, I got nothing else to do, might as well gank the top side, take the Herald, go back to base. Graves just did a full sequence down. There's a little bit of a fisting thing that goes on here, a ganking skirmish that happens. Graves, of course, gets himself fed, but the Jax does the most important thing in these situations. When you are losing out on this time thing, on this being cut off from doing what you want to do thing, the most important thing is try and take the ganks you can get, control your jungle as best you can, sneak the objectives when you can get them, and if you've got the Herald, be darn well hecking sure that you get at least a few turret plates. And that way you know that you'll have enough gold to go and fuck some shit up. Which is always what happens, because this is the mind game of jungling. Yes, back and forth, taking away things, making plays yourself, preventing the enemy jungler from doing anything, but most importantly, objectives, laner impact, and gold, so that when 40 minutes comes, as it does here, you're at least decently fed, you've got objective control, and you can kind of snowball into that mid-game. And of course, the denial thing doesn't stop, right? It's about pushing waves and invading and goon squatting and preventing buffs to be stolen, but it's also you can get to that big old-fashioned fight where you just ruffle stomp them with your champion. Hopefully you have the mechanics to do so. But how does this work in a slightly separate scenario where maybe you can farm fast, unlike the Jax, and you're against something that can farm even faster than you, rotate to everything like a Hecarim? So we've obviously seen in pro play and obviously in high elo, people like to start an enemy's buffs. But what they don't do properly is actually understand this time advantage. So I'm going to show you what that means here. The Zyra does a late invade with her team. Nothing's afoot. And of course, the guy with feet is on the bottom side, not protecting his entrances. Again, this does happen in high elo. Happens in all your elos, obviously. Why would you not maybe do the Red Raptors Krugs here? Because what happens if you do Red Raptors Krugs as a jungler and the enemy jungler beats you 1v1 and is a faster clearer? That's right, you lose the time advantage, because by the time you've done all of that, he's in the same vicinity as you, and now you can gank the side lane, sure, but he'll rotate and kill you. And if you gank the side lane and go to your blue buff, he will rotate and kill you, maybe, take your camps as well. So that's not very good. The invade here wouldn't suit us. So we go red, Krugs, goes straight to the blue Grob. The ward shows the Hecarim showing up to do Raptors, so you give him the Raptors as a trade. You say, look sir, here is your Scampi, your starter, all the while you've stolen the main cores. When he gets to the red, he's gonna think, my red is stolen, that's weird, my Krugs are surely, wait a second. But by the time that happens, you're on your wolves, already pathing to the bottom side quadrant. Now, if you're the Zyra, think about what the Hecarim's gonna do here. Most likely try and gank top lane. If that's not gankable, he's gonna maybe investigate your jungle, or he's gonna go straight to the mid lane for a gank. If he thinks you started on the top side, you should be on your red side right now. So of course he's gonna try and invade your Raptors, maybe invade your red and steal it away from you. And again, try and kill you. So the importance here is creating that gap, that time advantage that I've been talking about, the Korean secret. If you've got 30 seconds over them, you can be 30 seconds ahead in all pathing games. You finish the Raptors, he sees them, and now he's thinking, wait, did she go my red Raptors into her red Krugs Raptors, or what's going on here? He doesn't exactly know where you are at all. But if you're in control, because you have, again, the time advantage, what can Hecarim do next if the second spawn of his Grump is going to be at like 4 minutes 20, and it's 3 minutes 30? Well, you can go ahead and do your red. He's most likely going to do the Scuttle Crab, and then afterwards probably look to gank bottom lane. Maybe he thinks your Krugs are available, because how could you invade and take everything, right? That makes no sense. And so what you can do is take your Krugs and set up a beautiful gank when he decides to go here, because he has nothing else to do, right? He cleared his camps, he lost 2, you had a 30-second advantage because you skipped the Raptors and baited him with them, that time waste, and of course now he dies. Now if you happen to be watching this video and then you go have a game like this and you're the Hecarim and this happens to you, think about what we're talking about here, time advantage, right? Tempo control, time advantage, denying what the enemy jungler wants to do. So when you respawn, because you respawn ahead of when the Zyra bases, you could have very easily gone to the top side and taken that Scuttle Crab. Could have very easily maybe looked for a top lane or mid lane gank, but ideally top lane, so you could then go to your Krugs, because at this point, your Krugs have respawned. And at this point, you know exactly when your Raptors are going to respawn, which is of course going to be that 5-minute-ish marker. So if you know the Zyra is going to want to go to the top side and take that Scuttle, maybe repeat take those Krugs or gank top lane or whatever, then if we take the top side Scuttle, gank top lane, take Krugs, the only thing that's going to be available is of course going to be the Raptors, for which you have Prio and the ability to just kill a simple mage running around in your jungle for no reason. So the Zyra or whatever farming your mobile jungler you play, whether it's a Fiddle, Karthus, Brand, this is all exactly the same principle by the way. You would be a little bit screwed because your respawn of your second Gromp and your second Wolves, that's delayed due to the invade. So if as the Zyra you assume this is a possibility for what he should do, you know that if he doesn't do that, the payoff for you will be pretty big. Let me show you. You go ahead and you look at the Scuttle Crab and you say, cool, that's free, thank you so much, not using the outside rule to take the thing furthest away from you while I'm not on the map. That's exactly what I wanted. Top lane is taking care of itself, so I better just go ahead and do my full sequence down. At this point, it's not worth investigating anymore because you know categorically with this crab being up, the Hecarim 99% is doing the grump and sequencing to the top side. So by the time I've sequenced from here to the bottom side, you will be in a position to gank before him, because in order for him to come down here, he has to once more reset suboptimally and walk all the way down with his 18 feet. And you have the level 6 spike, so use it on the Summonerless ADC, make sure you get that kill. Obviously, the Twisted Fate is ultimate, Hecarim's going to be in the area, so now you're kind of forcing a fight here. This is a bit more Korean in nature as well, you're kind of forcing the issue a little bit. You should probably decide if you want to or want not to. But if you get 2 for 1, as most junglers here, like a Karthus or whatever, and even a Zyra and a Brand, this is good for you, right? This is a lead you can use. And much like the Graves example before, you know the Hecarim then uses that to get a dragon. Do we really care about that? No. So let's take away a gank that the Hecarim could want to get. Top lane. We'll go ahead and gank top lane and snack some plates as well. Then what you're going to do is, because you know the Hecarim is going to look to sequence up again, that's what he's shown to do the whole game, and you don't really want to go and coin flip the Herald now while Varus is going back to base, you then go and do your blue and your grump. You know there's a distinct possibility that the Hecarim is going to want to sequence up here, knows you gank top lane, will assume you've gone to the bottom side, so you finish off the wolves as well, and then you sit in the bush and you wait for the Hecarim to be baited into this because you've pinged it off, your Varus is back in lane, and you can just observe. The Hecarim thought, hey, the Zyra somewhere else. The Zyra said, no, I was just baiting you into it using the time advantage I had. And now, sir, you are dead. I have the Herald and I could use it for plate cash monies. All by asking, what's the Hecarim going to want to do based upon what he thinks I'm doing, and then I can just get ahead of him, cut him off, and obviously try and create a time advantage so I have the invest available to use when I need to. And as it goes without saying, don't go and fight a Scuttle Crab or try and take a Scuttle Crab in the name of time advantage, because now you're going to die, collapse, and then they can counter jungle you and get it back. So that is a boo-boo that you don't want to do, and instead you should say, okay, look, the Hecarim's going to come to the bottom scuttle, he's got bottom prio, I should take away my camps and reset because, of course, I have enough gold now and I know he will want to counter jungle them, let's just protect myself. But as you can see, the Hecarim doesn't know the Korean secret about using slightly higher risk plays in order to create time and tempo advantage in order to prevent the enemy jungle doing what they want to do, and so those camps remain free. And so you can take them, set up another trap, but here's an unstoppable button, a long drawn out fight occurs, and at least you get a kill and can shove mid lane a little bit. And now you're straight into the mid game, and of course, keep doing your mid lane principles. Don't let this distract you from the fact that the Hecarim ends up going to the bottom side with Baron up, you snack that up, and basically the free win is presenting itself, but you've prevented the Hecarim from doing anything. Slowed his econ down, kept your econ very, very high. So when you see these Korean junglers try these random coin flip invades and these random scuttle fights and things like that, they're just trying to create this time advantage, because if you can do that with gold and experience leads, then like the Viego vs Talia example, you can kill them when you try and make these plays. You're not sort of having to run away from them much like the Jax was. He had to wait and be patient, like the Zyra did, had to wait and be patient. But in the Graves case, he knew exactly how to counter that and get himself fed. Sure, they lost the game, but he did his job early, whereas the Hecarim did not do that whatsoever, and then so got severely punished. Always ask yourself what the enemy jungler wants to do, decide whether you want a handshake trade or if you just want to prevent them from doing it. This is a strong-willed principle that will lead to PvP moments. You have to be mechanically good enough, you have to understand gold and item spikes and tempo as well. You're always trying to create that lead, and I think the Zyra example showed that, giving the Raptors to create a buffer so that he could get nothing else, and then setting up the counter gank, and this works for lane ganks and so on as well. And if you can do that, you would have unlocked the Korean secret to jungling aggressively. As always, if you want to understand more about the total approach of jungling and maybe being able to 1v9 with slightly less coin flip moments, click the video in the box in the top right to become a jungle monster.